everybody start with USB sticks. You think that attack could be only from USB stick, or there could be other way to attack that site too? Here's my theory. This is sometime I think about these things. Your high-ranking executives, they travel everywhere with that computer. They get connected to, when they're sitting in the hotel, they get connected to their network. If I'm a hacker, I'll sit right next to him, and I'll pollute his computer, and I'll make him my mailman to take it to a site where I want him to go. You think it's possible? It's very possible. That's how, remember, people are attacking you. They're taking your, they're taking different type of, like, they're uploading Trojans, malware in your computer and everything, and this is the easiest way to do it. Why would I go out there and pay someone and tell them that here's the USB stick and put it on? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. So I don't know. But in my mind, with my experience, I sit right next to a person or very close to him, or I'll become friends with him on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'll find his interest, I'll pollute his system, and I'll have him carry my attack inside the company. Okay? So what I'm trying to get to here is, like, the soft targets are the most dangerous one. So in Honeywell, we also provide endpoint hardening, antiviruses, configuration, whitelisting, all of these things. So awareness is a critical piece. Like, if you do got attacked, how I can retrack or replay that attack. So one way to do is with a SIM solution, Security Information Event Management System. If I have enough data, I can always go back and replay that attack, how that attack was happened. So how that attack was happened. Another way to, like, do this, another way is, like, our Honeywell offerings are, we offer that industrial control secure system, basically dual encryption, dual authentication and everything. And also we provide you a protection management. The SIM solution is for replaying your data if you do got attacked. The last one, Houston, we have a problem. Like, what do you do if that incident occur? How do you recover it? How are you going to regain your safety and reliability? So as a Honeywell, we work with our customer to give them a solid backup solution where they can restore their services in case of attack. Because it's very important when you got attacked, like, you don't want to restore that data, so you got to look at the clean data, and that's where you're going to upload your information from. Okay? So again, I talked about complete industrial cybersecurity, and around people, process, and technology is an ongoing initiative. Assessment and audit, like, always security assessment and network and wireless assessment, that's what we do. And we provide that security audit report. Based on audit report, we'll architect and design your system. This report will include your network security and endpoint security as well, with situational awareness and with backup solution. Okay? And this is all I have.
Now, do we have any questions? Guys, do we have any questions? Now, I know you've got something in your lucky bag. We have another iPad.
On a good question, you guys will get an iPad, and it has to come from back there from your,
okay, now
especially for KNPC and those guys.
Now, there's a few I can see 10 questions already, one right here. Okay, can I get a microphone, please? So you're going to give this away. Let's define the terms.
Okay.
Who are you going to give this away to?
So it has to be from KNPC. It cannot be a competitor. It cannot be a consultant.
That rules out the whole room.
So the people we are here for, right?
Yeah.
Right, so right at the back. So maybe the person who asks the best question to you.
Okay.
Yeah? Right. Okay, so who's got a question? Got one right here?
Okay. Well, my name is Mamoun Al-Azhab, and I'm from the American University of Middle East. And I do have discussions more than questions. What is really, I think it's important in the cybersecurity area is to include the education and awareness to IT people working in industry. For examples, like with Windows XP, I have found that some workstations using Windows XP, and Windows XP, according to Microsoft, they stopped releasing updates and patches since April 2013. And it just strike me that some workstation, they're still using that. And Windows, they no longer updates their system. So I think it's very important to include education element to IT people working in industry.
That's a very good question.
Yes.
Actually, at Honeywell, we have done a huge investment on different type of labs, cyber labs, and you guys are more welcome to come to those labs. Actually, in those labs, we show a real-time cyber attack and how to, based on this design, how to defend yourself from those attacks. And also during that, if you would like, we can train you as well. We can give you a hands-on as well training. And talking about XP is done.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying, and I'm finding out that many Planet workstation, they're still using bad or old or outdated operating system or old patches. My second discussions that I would like to share is why don't we use the benefits of bank industry to our bank industry or financial industry to the industrial workstations. For example, is why there shouldn't be a policy and regulation enforced in the workstations. For example, do not use a USB or do not use a wireless, or for example, ban using the internet in that workstation. Why don't we take that benefit too and apply that rules in the Planet workstation?
So we actually, we do provide, we do harden that different USBs and everything, you can't use them. And bank is a good example, but there's a difference between banks and industrial cybersecurity. When attacker attack to the bank, his purpose is to steal information and take control. When attacker attack the industry, especially, his purpose is not to take the control or steal anything. His purpose is totally different, to destruct that plant, right? So bank cannot work without internet.
Of course, yes.
However, the plants, they can work without internet. It's not a good idea, but they can. So there's two different audience.
Yeah, true, yeah. But my point here, why don't we take the best practice that banks or financial industry are using and enforcing in their workstation, and we just take whatever it's, take the regulation and not using internet, for example, so wireless, or using the USB in that workstation.
Yes.
Because it seems to me that most of the threats that we've been talking about yesterday and today's presentations, that most of these threats are actually coming because of a USB has been plugged, or a USB has been plugged in that workstation, or someone has an infected laptop and used it inside that workstations. So why don't we apply rules not to use such things?
So a lot of these rules, they are already built in 62443, and most of them, not all of them. But this is what we are applying as well, like hardening USBs, hardening different type of interfaces. A lot of time, we remove a lot of these programs. They're not being used, or if you don't need them. For example, calculators or some of this stuff which you don't need in industrial environment. Yes, you're absolutely right. I agree with you.
Some great discussions, and we can further discuss them. There is going to be a coffee break, obviously, after the next speaker, so we can further discuss that. We're going to take time for Ayman. Did you want to say something? You want to answer that? Okay.
I'm sorry, let me comment on the two questions, and I'll start with the first question. You will not only see Windows XP, you are going to see Windows 98, and you are going to see Windows 3.1 in industrial areas. Can you replace them in one day? You cannot. It's a huge project to replace any system, so it's not an easy thing to do. Now, rather than talking about replacing them as a plan, you talk about this, but at the same time, you need to talk about how can I protect the environment with the existing systems that we have over there. This is very important. The second thing is that banking is very different from critical infrastructures. You do not have fire and gas, you do not have emergency, you do not have utilities, you do not have systems that are very sensitive to each millisecond of delay, okay? So the way that you need to deal with those control systems is based on their nature. It's very different from the bank. Securing a bank is much, much more easier than securing any control system, and this is a fact that everyone has to realize. So it's not that easy situation. You have utilities, you have different types of systems that are very sensitive. Can you restart a machine in a bank? Yes, you can. You have resilience, you have many systems. In an industrial area, you need to have a plan before you restart any system. It's very complicated environment, and I think that the most important factor is education people on control systems and understanding automation systems, and then move to securing those systems. Thank you very much.
Really good raised points, and even on that note specifically, Eamon does have actually a workshop that you should be at the moment that was starting at 9. Yes. So if anybody that did in fact want to attend the workshop, to please follow through, of course, throughout the doors. Eamon's going to that workshop right now, running a little bit late. Thank you. Now, we don't have much time to further discuss, but we do in fact have, of course, a coffee break coming up. I am conscious of the fact that we want to give away this iPad, specifically from someone at the back. Does anybody have a question at the back? Right there. Can I get a microphone right in the middle of the room, please? Right in the middle of the room. And that will be our final question, because we're running out of time. Do you want to say something? Okay, I will bring it. I'll bring the microphone. Okay, so, sir, what's your question?
My name is Ajay Vibhute. I work with Equate Petrochemical Company. With the big data and industrial Internet of Things coming up, every device in the field will have Ethernet port. At the same time, the Wi-Fi or the connectivity with the individual instrument in the field, right from the wall, field instruments will be there in future, and it will be reality soon. How Honeywell is addressing these security issues with the field instrument in their security plans?
So Honeywell is continuously working on new systems, and currently the way we work is, if you look from inside our system, we already provide you a control firewall 9. Between level 1 and level 2, if you wanted to upgrade your systems, we are providing encryption between level 1 and level 2. Also, we offer Modbus, which is Tofino firewalls. We are also providing those ones. So that area is pretty secure. But if you're talking about, like, going above onto into a Windows environment, in that area, what we do is we provide you antiviruses, which is blacklisting, and also a whitelisting. You wanted to control rest of them executable. So currently, the system, I think it's pretty robust, the solution we are providing. But understand these threats are continuously moving, and Honeywell is always on the cutting edge to move along with them and, provide a good solution.
Okay. Now we've just got one more question right at the front here, which I have to take. So if I can get the microphone, please,
That's
right
yours,
at the front.
by the way.
We'll get it to you just in a second. Yep.
My name is Naji, Team Leader Telecommunication KMBC. Thank you for your presentation. And my question is, now we have in our oil sector 2 network, process network and corporate network. Is there any way of making easy communication between the process and the corporate network without compromising the security of our process, our asset? Because we need to get data, we need to get our dashboard. Is there any way to make it easy without compromising the security of the process?
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, Honeywell is already working on new software called Risk Manager. And long time ago, remember, it was very hard to use computer because everybody has to go through different command lines and all that stuff, and then window came out. So Risk Manager is something like that. It will give you a freedom to work, easy to look at things. You don't need to be a cybersecurity expert to work with that system because it will kind of guide you through all of that process. And Mr. Sinclair, he's here, and he will be demoing this Risk Manager, and I would love you guys to stop by, and we can go through these things because there's a lot of tools. For example, like if from automation side, also from networking side, and there are all of these tools that are sending different type of logs, and it's humanly impossible for a person to look at that log and make a conscious decision in real time. So that's where that tool. It simplifies everything. It kind of gives you kind of a graphic view, number one. Number two, it also does when it comes to an equipment, a real-time assessment. So you don't have to depend on person. But it's always a good idea to do it every year, assessment, to make sure that everything is going right. But this tool will come back and kind of give you a very easy graphical user interface where you got to click it, you got to do a lot of these things. So please stop by.
Definitely, and we can certainly discuss this further. We've got a coffee break coming up very shortly as well. Now, can I get the winner up so we can give you the iPad? We can you give it to him.
Okay.
We can get a good photo opportunity as well, and then we can move on to the next speaker. Congratulations. Very good questions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you much. All right. Thank you much. All right.
Congratulations. Can I get a big hand of applause, please, to Safdar, our first speaker for our day 2. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, before I introduce the next speaker, I do in fact have a small little video that I'd like for you guys to watch. So if I can have your attention to our screens. Can we get lights down?
عزيزي الموظف، عليك الالتزام بتطبيق سياسات الأمن الرقمي بحذافيره حتى تجنب شركتك فتح ثغرات أمنية قد تكلفها الكثير.
Okay, so just another reminder to be, of course, very, very careful moving forward when you're using the company systems. Now, I want to invite the next speaker to the stage, talking on the myth of secure out of the box. Now, AKA, also known as Joe Cummins, which of course was actually in, which he's not, but let me tell you a little bit about him. He's the Director of Security Architecture for the Emerson Process Management. In this role, he facilitates the development and incorporation of continuously improving security practices into all Emerson process management products and services. This requires tracking and understanding current and developing industry trends, recommended best practices, legislation, and customer requirements relating to industrial cybersecurity. It's with my absolute pleasure to invite to the stage Jeff Potter.
Thank you.
Not Joe Cummins.
Test, test. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about today is, a phrase that sometimes gets used. It's, I want to order a system that's secure out of the box. And does that have any meaning to it? But I thought, first of all, we had a safety minute at the start of the first day. And what I think is sometimes needed is we need to maybe start having a cybersecurity minute at the start of every meeting. So that's what I thought I would do here. And, I found this picture on the internet, and I found it fascinating, and I have no idea where it is or anything like that, but I put a little story around it anyway. So let's have a little cybersecurity minute before we dive into my talk. So let's imagine you're at a small airport, and a government minister has said, or a government regulation has come out, unfunded of course, that says you need to have a closed-circuit television set up that records everybody that enters into your airport. So, you go out, you do some bidding, and you get a low-cost bid, you bring in the contractor, you pull out the plans for the airport, you maybe take a copy of the part of the plan that's relevant, you do some scribbling, and you say, okay, put the camera right there. So the contractor goes out there with his people, he sets up the camera, he does some minimal training. There's no real necessarily been identified that somebody's responsible for actually paying attention to the camera output, but you got the camera, you show it to the government minister, box checked. Everybody's happy. Then sometime later somebody says, when people are coming in through that entranceway, they need some information as to maybe where their bags are or where the, local passport holders versus foreign passport holders are. So let's put up an information screen that lets them know where they need to go. So they go out for bid. They get a low bid, low compliant bid. They pull out the plans, which were never updated, including the camera. They take a picture, or they do some scribbling, and they send the contractors out to the area that's been identified. Now the contractor people, I'm sure, noticed that this was really stupid to put a screen right in front of the camera. But were they empowered to actually point that out to anybody? I'm saying apparently not. They were not empowered to actually let anybody know. They did not feel any ownership in the overall running of the airport. There was no collaboration between that group that needed the screen and the group that needed the camera. And finally, whoever was running the camera was not paying any attention to whether there was still valid output. So they set up a monitoring system, but yet nobody was actually paying attention to make sure that monitoring was still happening. And I'm going to argue that in the cybersecurity area, we're seeing all these things happen every day. Lack of collaboration, new responsibilities being put on people, but yet it's not really added to their work practices, and then people are not really getting the value. Okay, so enough of the cybersecurity minute. So, there's the old joke about, this PC is completely secure and then I power it up, right? So, one of the things that we talk about is, and Safdar was talking about it as well, we talk about the fact that we've got much more technical complexity going on. And part of that is because our plants are getting bigger and bigger. And part of that is because they're not just simply plants, they're actually complexes, where one plant is actually feeding, output of one plant is the input to the next plant and everything. And one plant might be, an Emerson plant, controlled by Emerson gear, next one by Honeywell, next one by Siemens, whatever. So single facilities are then becoming integrated complexes. And then, we've seen, as we're working on these complexes, sometimes 5, 8, 10 different EPCs are involved. So many different module suppliers from all around the world. And then, obviously, as we've been talking about, the automation technology is continuing to increase in complexity. And hopefully at value, but also in complexity. And then you combine that with the workforce issues that we all have worldwide, not just here, but worldwide, in terms of people reaching retirement, lack of experience in some areas. Years of experience really are needed in order to make risk decisions. So there's decisions that are being made in the field every day that involve risk, and that the right level of people within your organizations are not necessarily involved in making those risk decisions. And I think you know that's true. One of the things that we see in general is everybody wants their projects to be on time and on budget, right? Everybody wants that. But we have like two kind of classes. We have groups that are kind of constrained to some extent to go with the lowest compliant price. So in other words, a bid goes out, a bunch of proposals come back, and within certain guidelines, of course, you have to basically accept what is the lowest compliant bid. In some other parts of the world, they're allowed to basically look a little bit wider in terms of total installed cost. So there's different priorities, and the vendor solutions that you're seeing have to meet that